Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to another edition of the Red and Blue Review. I'm your host, as always. My name is Nick Philpott, and I'll shortly be joined by a panel that I'll introduce you to in a second. But before that, don't forget to ask your smart speaker to play the latest Red and Blue Review podcast. The pod from tonight's show will be up shortly after we go off air this evening. So when you see it on Facebook and Twitter, please share it all you can, all over the socials, and give it to as many of your Palace supporting friends as you possibly can. Lastly, as you watch, you can watch us tomorrow as Go Live. If you go over to our YouTube channel, our newly updated YouTube channel, please hit the bell and subscribe to the YouTube channel and tell everybody about it, because you can watch this all over again going forward. And also our back catalogue, of course, go to our redandbluereview.co.uk website, and every single show that we've ever done, and we're into the hundreds now, you'll find on our website. So a good evening and welcome to, let's start with you, Timbo, down in New Zealand. Tim, how are you, mate?
I'm not too bad, thank you, sir. Good to see everyone.
Cheers, mate. And I hear you've got some decent news for the Palace faithful. Tell them all about it.
Well, we're coming home. It's been almost 12 years, but the time is right. Few things. Excited. Obviously, we need to be back for the Brighton game in January. But, just need to find a job in a rental. But so we made the decision. Both really excited. It's the right time. It feels right. And we'll be coming home.
Listen, mate, I am delighted for you and Wendy. Love to you both. I think it's huge news in your world, and I'm chuffed to be. Jason Cadle, welcome back again, mate. How are you doing?
Evening, Nick. Evening, everyone. Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Not too bad.
Listen, I wore this T-shirt in your honour tonight.
Very nice. Very nice.
So, which is your favourite out of that?
It's got to be a sash, isn't it? I think the bottom left, is it?
Yeah, of course. It has to be the sash. And, of course, welcome back, Greg Ellis. How you doing, man?
Good evening. I'm all right, thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
No problem at all. Listen, ladies and gentlemen out in Facebook land, I can see so many of you out there already. I'm not expecting massive numbers tonight, simply because we're doing it on a Tuesday night. But for those of you who are watching, wherever you are watching in the world, good evening and welcome. And most importantly, welcome to another face. We have decided this week to do something different, and joining us all the way from Canada, giving the Arsenal perspective on last night's game, is Gareth Knock. Good evening, Gareth. How you doing, mate?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
You're more than welcome. Yeah, I don't know whether I can see Tim. Ian, maybe you can sort the screen out, because there you go. I can see you now, mate. I don't know. That was the scariest picture of the night. You know that? Tim being there on his own. God, I'm going into a cold sweat as well. Mate, listen, welcome to the Red and Blue Review. Thank you for joining us all the way from Canada. What's the time over there now?
We are 3 p.m. right now.
Oh, right. Okay. So that's not so bad. So coming up on tonight's show, we're going to be chewing the cud over some more drop points in the last minute at the Emirates Stadium. Looking ahead to this weekend's clash against the Sheikhs of Geordie. And we have some massive news. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have the biggest news in Crystal Palace podcast history coming your way. But you're not going to find out what it is tonight. You're going to have to stay tuned to the Red and Blue Review. It is something that no other Palace podcast, and they will be gutted, by the way. They will be gutted. Okay, no other Palace podcast has ever achieved. Okay, it's coming up solely and exclusively to the viewers of Red and Blue Review. So that's what's coming up in the show. First of all, we're going to touch off with a little bit of news. Very interesting article this week. I don't know if you saw the Athletic this week, and they're talking about Wilf Zaha. And I quote, it says, everything about the feel-good factor within the club that is already considered far likelier that Wilfried Zaha, now in the inside of his 2 years of his current deal and newly represented by the CAA-based agency, is to be offered and will accept a new long-term contract to remain at Selhurst Park on slightly improved terms than revisits his agitation move away from the club. Zaha is enjoying the team's more attack-minded approach, and the player and the manager have really hit it off. Now, boys, I think we decided between the show that 2 transfer windows ago. If he hadn't gone by then, he won't go. Jason, let's kick off with you. Your thoughts on the Zaha? Do you think he'll sign a new deal? Do you think he'll stay? Your thoughts, mate?
I think he will sign a new deal. It'd be good for all parties. I mean, if he sounds like he's really enjoyed himself, and that's great news for everyone at the club. So I think he'll sign a contract. Now, let's say he has a really good season and he signs a new contract. If anyone does come in for him, it's only going to increase his value if he does go. So it works for all of us, isn't it? He's going to be on more money. And if we do sell him, which I don't think we will, we're going to get more money for him because he'll be on a better contract and a longer contract. So his fee will be bigger. So it's win-win all around, isn't it?
Yeah, we're going to come on to the fact in a minute that Zaha wasn't featuring last night. Greg, your thoughts on potentially Zaha maybe to be offered a new deal?
It's a win-win situation for all. I think deep down, every Palace fan wants Zaha to stay. I think only out of frustration you'll ever say that you'd sell him and move him on. But look, if he's enjoying his football under Vieira and Palace are playing more, attacking style football and his head's in the right place, what better place to be? I think it's a good thing for the club, a good thing for the player. I totally understand his frustration maybe a few seasons ago of thinking about a move to a top 6 or abroad. I completely understand that from like a personal career move. That a choice that he probably would have made if it was made available. It wasn't made available, so he stayed at Palace, and maybe he's just gotten used to the idea that he can enjoy his football here still.
Tim, it looks as though he's really buying into the project, doesn't it?
Well, how many times have we said it over the last couple of years? And I'm as guilty as criticising him as anybody else. But looking at the way he was told to play football under the previous management, is it any wonder he was looking unhappy? But I think it's great news. But on a positive note as well, Joan Wells made a comment. Look how well we played last night without Wilf.
Yeah, and
when was the last time we saw us play anywhere near that quality without Wilf?
Joan, you make a cracking point as well, because I'll be honest with you, before the game last night, when the teams were announced, there was strong rumours flying around that he wouldn't feature, and he wouldn't feature for the next 2 games through illness, and that's all that we'd heard before the teams came out, through illness. So we jumped to the conclusions, and I think from what the manager said last night, wrongly so, that it was COVID. So if it was COVID, he'd be out for 10 days, isolated, and all the rest of it. Well, according to the manager, he was going to train today. Zaha was going to train today. Gareth, I'm going to ask you, I know you're not... Arsenal made, I think it was a derisory £30 million bid for him a year or so ago. Do you think he did the right thing to stay in the club, or do you think he should have... we were talking pre-show with reference to the Pepe Zaha conundrum. Do you think he made the right choice? If it was a choice?
Yeah, it seems that way now. And I think if he was looking, to Greg's point, if he was looking for that top 4, top 6 club or a big club in Europe, then definitely coming to Arsenal wouldn't have been the best decision on reflection now. Based on where we're at as a club. So I think it was, whether it was a choice or not, I think it ended up being the best result. And clearly he's got a manager that, is going to have him in the team and have him playing football that he's enjoying. So it looks like it was probably the best move, whether that was an intentional thing or not.
And I also think there's the signings that were made in January. Edouard, obviously Eze, of course, Elise. He's now playing with a better class of player, and I think that's something to do with it as well. Which footballer doesn't want to play with the better quality players? And talking about the guys out someone in Facebook land, let's say hello to a few of them. Matt Watts, John Knox, Mark Corbett, George Wagwu, Ian Napoli, Tom Samuel. Thank you for all your work, Tom. We really appreciate it. Paul Grant, Matty Cannon, Nigel Croucher, Paul Holden, Luke Cooper, Mr. Usher. I can see you're out there, Damien Toms. And to each and every one of you, wherever you are watching in the world, welcome to the Red and Blue Review. Don't forget, we are sitting on monumental news for this, our little Red and Blue Review. Australia, I can see Andy Hopper in Australia. Good day, buddy. I hope you're well, mate. We are sitting on the big one, okay? The big one that nobody's got. Gloria, I can see you too. Welcome aboard. Other news from the club. The club yesterday announced lots of changes to the December fixture list. So 6 Crystal Palace fixtures have been moved as a result of TV selections over the Christmas period. And the midweek Leeds trip will now be played on Tuesday the 30th of November with the match broadcast live on Amazon Prime Video. Another trip to the northwest to face Man United at Old Trafford has been moved to the afternoon of Sunday the 5th of December, kicking off at 2 o'clock. The festive period sees 4 of our home fixtures rearranged, starting with Everton's arrival in South London on Sunday the 12th of December, live on Sky Sports. Oh, by the way, go back to the Man United game. It's not on TV at all, from what I can gather. How bizarre is that? After Christmas, the Eagles play host to Norwich City on Tuesday, the 28th of December, again shown live on Amazon Prime Video, before the London derby against West Ham United on New Year's Day. All the change of fixture times and schedules can be found on the Palace website, eagles.cpfc.co.uk, or whatever it is called. So, boys, shall we get into it? Let's get into Ian, can we kick off, please, with the lineup? The big news, I say, pre-kickoff was the fact that Zaha was missing from the formation. But so the Palace faithful in the back of the stands before we kicked off, I think it's safe to say, was pretty flat. You know, they thought you need probably your best player out on the pitch when you're facing this lot. Okay, so it was Guaita in goal, Ward, Guehi, Anderson and Mitchell across the back. Milivojevic, MacArthur, who obviously we're going to need to talk about in some detail. Gallagher, Ayew, Benteke and Edouard. Jason, on the lineup, are you surprised he went with Ayew over Elise again?
No, I'm not. Just because of what Ayew does in terms of defensive work. I just think he would have wanted to keep it tight the first half, first 60 minutes. So I wasn't surprised. I think I was more surprised that maybe Schlupp didn't get a look in instead of Benteke and put Schlupp on the left with Ward in the middle. So, yeah, I was a little bit, like you say, it was all a bit down, wasn't it? As Zaha was out. I would have preferred to see Schlupp in there on the left and get Benteke as a sub.
Greg, any thoughts on the lineup, mate?
I think it's what I would have gone with. I mean, everyone's busting to see Elise start for sure. I'm pretty sure everyone shares that. But yeah, I'm with Jason. It's probably the wrong game away at the Emirates. Is you want to go, with your more experienced player. I know Ayew's getting a lot of flack at the moment, and that possibly deserved, at times. But he is a terrier, and I think that was the right atmosphere for him. So no, I think it's good playing Edouard and Benteke in the same side. Different type of attack. So no, I was happy.
Tim, your thoughts on Zaha not featuring?
When I didn't have a clue. I started watching just after the game started.
Right.
That it was commented, and I was like, oh dear, that's not too good. But as it turned out, yeah, would it make a difference? Probably would. But I was just delighted with how we played without him.
And we were standing there, and Ian Noble, a friend of the show, obviously, was standing there choking on an £8 hot dog from the Emirates. What is that all about? £8 hot dog. I'm sure that's what he said it was. I think he came back with an £8 hot dog or 12 quid for an £8 hot dog and half a lager. It's just abysmal.
Was it a 6 foot long hot dog?
If only. Not even 6 inches long, mate. So
that's not 6 inches, mate.
Just ridiculous. So
that's not 6 inches, yeah.
Oh, I was told that was 6 inches. Oh, God, not again. You've been talking misses, haven't you? Okay, right. Ian, bin him off with it. Right, so where should we start, boys? I mean, the opening exchanges, I think it's fair to say Arsenal came out. Gareth, Arsenal came out of the blocks. They were firing when they. I mean, they were. Palace couldn't even get a foothold in the early stages. Would you agree?
Yeah. It looked pretty hopeful for the first quarter an hour. Obviously, came out, got the goal. We saw a single flash of brilliance from Pepe, which is few and far between right now. But yeah, I mean, and it spoke to a lot of where we've been strong when we have been strong. So it kind of set off like that. I think as it's been consistently, the beginning of the games has seemed to have been pretty strong in a lot of our good performances, and the very back end is the bit in the middle where it seems to be slipping off a little bit.
It's interesting because pre-show we were talking about the atmosphere, and you guys that were watching it on TV said the atmosphere from the home end or from the Arsenal fans was pretty strong certainly in the first half. I can't say that was the case within the stadium. One of the guys, I think Jason made the point that they couldn't hear the Palace fans. From your perspective, again, I want the Arsenal view on this. How did it sound on the TV to you?
It sounded pretty loud early on. Same as kind of everyone else said. It seemed like there was a bit of that atmosphere kind of early on. But I think again, it's that thing where we kind of start off well. I think there's this thought that we're going to get out the blocks like that and continue the whole game, and it kind of slips off. And I think that's maybe where we're seeing that drop in the atmosphere in games and the lack of support from the fans. And as we also said, a lot of people gone near the end, so there wasn't that chance maybe to bring that vibe back up at the end of the game.
Yeah, we'll come to that later on. But I mean, there wasn't any time at the end of the game because it was actually extra time. He shouldn't have even been playing at that point. He should have blown the whistle at the after following the corner. But I mean, not that I'm bitter and twisted in any way, shape, or form. Okay, it was from inside the stadium. The Palace fans seemed loud. Okay, they seem to enjoy baiting. I don't know what they call it. That first tier above where the away supporters are, and they were baiting them literally from the kickoff. Shall we sing a song for you? Vieira's right. Your fans are shy, and so on. But it was going on for a lot of the game. And it actually, in fairness to Arsenal, the only real noise I heard from the Arsenal fans from inside the stadium was pre-kickoff. While Ian was shoving this hot dog down his throat, okay, there's literally just a partition wall between the away fans and the home fans, the other side of it. He said the hot dog was a shocking hot dog. His guts are still suffering, is what he just said. Anyway, it was the Arsenal fans that was actually singing the other side of the partition before kickoff. Normally when the away fans congregate, Jay, in one area, like in Brighton, they're singing their hearts out. Because of the Zaha news, it was very flat out the back. They're very quiet. The Arsenal fans were singing at the back of the stand. But what did you see on TV in terms of the volume in the stadium?
Honestly, I was thinking to myself, why are Palace fans so quiet? I couldn't hear Palace fans at all. All I could hear was Arsenal songs, and there were different Arsenal songs. And I was thinking, I didn't realise there had more than one song, which was just Arsenal. They were singing all sorts of stuff, and they even said "Stand up if you hate Tottenham" at one point, and I was like, Jesus, what's going on here? And right. You couldn't hear it. You couldn't hear the Palace fans, and I'm wondering whether they did put any mics in the Palace end whatsoever. I've got a funny feeling because you couldn't hear the Palace fans. You raise a good point. You raise a good point. And Ryan Hittinger said the only songs that he heard on the TV was Arsenal. And again, ladies and gentlemen out in Facebook land, I was making the point that pre-show, and we were having this discussion that when we went to Spurs for their opening game, their opening fixture at their new stadium, they were putting the words up on their electronic screens going around, "Come on, you Spurs, come on, you Spurs," and then the Spurs fans started singing it. Last night, they were doing the same thing at the Emirates with just three words: Arsenal, 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 and then they started singing it. Oh, so they needed a song. I might be too harsh. Okay, I think it's because we're spoiled at Selhurst Park because of the atmosphere that we generate, normally home and away. Yeah,
and I automatically expect other home fans to do the same, but clearly I'm deluded. I don't know. Right, so. Suppose we better get into the first 8 minutes then, boys. We're in. Okay, so the ideal start for Arsenal is they take an early lead. Martin Odegaard's corner is overhit. And I want to talk about this bit. The Gunners kept possession through Nicolas Pepe's brilliant strike. Pushed away by Vincente Guaita, but Aubameyang reacts quickly to volley it. Who lost the ball out on the wing when the corner was overhit, gentlemen? Who lost the ball to, what's his name? Pepe.
It was Ayew, wasn't it?
It was Ayew is the right answer, Jay. Well spotted, mate. There was a reason why I asked that question. Cost us the first goal, would you not say?
Yeah, it was far. It was out of position, wasn't he? It was miles out of position from what I could see. And he lost his man. And then Pepe did an easy 1-2. Went round him so easy, didn't he? And then, to be fair, it was a cracking shot. It was a great save. And very, very unlucky it fell to Aubameyang, wasn't he? It was really unlucky because it was a good save. It was a good shot and a good save. And fair play to the striker for getting on the end of it. It was a good goal, to be fair, wasn't it? And to be fair, tell you what Arsenal deserved, because they started on the front foot. They were quicker than us. They were more assertive than us, and we just hadn't got going. I haven't got out of first gear, if I'm honest, from what I saw in the first 8 minutes.
And I'm glad you touched on Guaita's save there. Greg, is there anything else he could have done with that? He pushed it out. I mean, it's probably something we criticised Hennessy for. Lots of shots saved, but saved into the path of an oncoming striker. Is there anything else Guaita could have done with that?
No, I don't think so. To be honest, when Aubameyang scored, I couldn't quite believe it had gone in from like the angle on the TV.
Yeah, good angle, yeah.
I thought on the replay it looked less impressive, but live watching it, I thought, how the hell has he scored that? And to be fair, I was. I mean, you're always disappointed to go 1-0 down, but I kind of also had the thought of, well, if you've scored from there, you deserve it. Yeah, look. I think I was frustrated that it was only 7 minutes gone, and to be honest, I said to my girlfriend, I said, we're probably going to get humped 3-0 now. I'll come and help you wrap the kids' Christmas presents instead. But yeah, I think that was what I was more annoyed about. I just thought, 7 minutes in. If it was 17 or 27 minutes, maybe so. But no, I don't think Guaita could have done anything with it really. I think it was a good goal. It was a good finish, and credit where credit's due.
I think you're talking nonsense, by the way. I'm just going to correct you on something you just said. Ladies and gentlemen, just for the benefit of the record here, it's the 19th of October and he's done his Christmas shopping. Give your head a wobble, boy. Give your head a wobble. Tim, anything else Keeper could have done with that? Good finish, you want it?
No, I don't think so. It definitely wasn't one he could catch. The commentary that we had down here was Ian Wright and I can't remember the other guy, but they were saying you could tell Ayew was a striker trying to defend because he went rushing into Pepe. If he just stood back a couple of yards just to cut the space off, that goal wouldn't have happened. So it wasn't only a case he lost the ball, but then he also got played around like he was standing still. But no, I think the keeper, it was a great save and it was a great finish. Put your hand up. It was a brilliant finish. So there you go.
Gareth, I think it's safe to say unanimously around the table here that Arsenal deserved to be in the lead at that point. They came out the blocks. They were by far the better team. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I was hopeful that first 10 minutes. And I think when you get the good quality, that's where you can kind of put that game to bed. Maybe in the first half, like to Greg's point, right? You could get one or two more in, and you kind of almost wrap that game up if you have a start like that and continue it.
Yeah, actually, funny you should mention that because it was not long after that and it sounds as though I'm Ayew bashing, boys, and I'm not, okay? But it was not long after that Ayew lost it again in midfield, allowing Smith Rowe to get a shot away from outside the box, okay? It was a poor shot by Smith Rowe, if I'm honest with you, and easily saved by Guaita. But it's Jay, you made the point earlier about his Ayew's defensive qualities, but he's also got he does lose the ball, frustratingly lose the ball. In fact, it was Tom Clark-Samuel sent me a list of stats from the game last night, and most of where we lost possession was either Milivojevic or Ayew. He has got a mistake in him, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has got a mistake in him. A lot of time he didn't look sharp at all. In fact, I'll be honest with you, I thought most of the team didn't look that great in the first 10, 15 minutes. And I'm sure we'll come on to the first half a bit more, but both teams were giving the ball away a lot. There was a lot of misplaced passes, like you say, from both teams. And Luka and Ayew, for us, the amount of misplaced passes was shocking, wasn't it? The amount of times we gave the ball away when we shouldn't have done, basically.
Tim, the early stages at the moment is, with Arsenal going 1-0, is this just adjusting to the fact that Zaha wasn't in the team, do you think?
No, I don't think. I don't think you could say that. I think it's just a case where Arsenal came out on fire. We were a bit sleepy. Like has been said, we were giving the ball away. Simple passes weren't going. And the moment you do that, you lose possession. You bring pressure on yourself. But then, to be fair, even with that pressure, they scored that really good goal. But Guaita didn't have an awful lot to do, even in that first 10, 15 minutes when Arsenal were the better team.
I agree. I just want to say good evening to David Campion, watching us from Crete. I presume you're on holiday there, David. Gutted we lost another 2 points. Well, I'll tell you what, David, let's throw that. I'm going to spin it on his head. On the way up to the stadium yesterday, I was talking to my son, and we were saying we'd take a point. We'd take a point tonight, and that's exactly what we came up. We came, I get your point that we dropped another 2 points, but we have got an awful lot as a fan base to be positive about. You've heard the expression, the future is bright, the future is orange. No, the future is bright, the future is red and blue. Have lots of positives. I do take your point that we lost 2 points unnecessarily and the manner that it happened, but don't be too, enjoy your time in Crete, go and pour another beer, but don't be too negative. Think about, I'll throw one stat at you. Boys, I haven't checked what I'm about to say to you. Okay, Jason, you might be able to verify for me, but my understanding is we're now on 8 points, okay, after not playing a team outside the top 8. Is that right?
That's correct. The lowest placed team we've played was Leicester, and they were 11th. We haven't played anyone below that. And we've only lost to 2 teams, which is Chelsea and Liverpool, isn't it? We've only lost to two games. And we've drawn 3 games now, 2-2, haven't we? Which is...
So we're scoring goals, we're picking up points.
Yeah. Okay,
we might not be winning that. You lose to the games you expect to lose to. Okay, you could argue last night was another one we should have lost to, really, with history behind them. Okay.
Yeah.
Again, Gareth, I'm going to ask you, please, to just from an Arsenal fan looking in on Palace. Okay, not too much of a shabby start to the season. Would you not say? Would you not agree?
I would say it's pretty impressive, and from what I've seen, and I have, I didn't mention this earlier. It would have been a funny point. I have a wife that supports Crystal Palace too, so I get to see a little bit of what happens, and I watch a little bit of the highlights, and they seem to be playing with a confidence that I haven't seen previous years, having seen them play over many seasons, and whether that's new management and different coaching or what have you. But yeah, I'd say it's a really solid start, and like I said, there's that confidence to the formation or the tactics or whatever it is that's changed that looks a lot different in previous years.
And I think your observations are quite right. And, for an Arsenal fan, I have to say to you, your choice of wife is absolutely sound. Good evening to what's her name? I can't say.
Nikki.
Nikki, welcome to the Red and Blue Review, and welcome to the Palace family. You are a superstar. Ian Noble in the background. Could you please put that message back up from Eagles.com? Okay, because they came up with a very interesting stat a minute ago, and Gareth was talking. I didn't want to interrupt him. Tim, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I was just wondering.
There it is. Read that out, Tim.
We've had the hardest start of any team so far. The average position of the opposition has been 5.6.
And that's from our very good friends at PalaceEagles.com, who have very kindly given us some competition prizes to you guys. Okay, more of that coming out in the next couple of weeks or so. We're going to be running some competitions, and the prizes have been kindly sent to us by our friends at PalaceEagles.com. And if you haven't tried their app, it's a Palace dedicated app. Okay, we're not partners with them in any way, shape, or form. We're just friends with a very good bunch of guys over there. Please get on their app. Give it a try. You'll find it on our page somewhere. You'll find it on Twitter. But PalaceEagles.com, and tell them Nick sent you. Okay, and look out for their prizes. Good evening to every one of you at Palace Eagles. They're good. So the Palace started getting back into the game in the first half a little bit. I mean, it's fair to say we had some. Connor had a decent shot. He spun on the 18-yard line, saved by their keeper. Benteke had a similar sort of shot, and I think, even though it was identical to Connor's, he should have done so. And by the way, on the subject of Connor, somebody in the chat a minute ago says it was Ryan Hinton said we need to sign him at any cost. Right, let's just cover that off between us now, shall we? Okay, I've got my own personal thoughts on this. Boys, all of you, and Gareth, feel free to jump in as well. What will it cost us, and will we ever spend that money on him? Go on in, Greg.
Right, okay. So if Palace break into the top 10, I reckon we'll do it. It's the opportunity. Palace want Gallagher to play well. They want to up his value because ultimately what that will mean for Palace is an improved finish in the Premier League. We want to break the top 10. This year is looking good. I think it's about £40 million. And I think ultimately Palace won't pay the money.
Yeah, somebody else had just said £40 million. I don't know whose internet that was it whether it was mine, but did you all hear a little break up in Greg's sound then? Yeah, okay. So I don't know if that was Greg's or mine. Boys, anybody else got a view on the Conor Gallagher thing?
Unfortunately, I don't think we've spent the money that would be needed. I mean, because if he plays that well, will Chelsea want him back? Who knows? I know we've got a good relationship with Chelsea, but have we got the money to spend? On
one player?
Yeah.
Jason?
No, the only thing with Gallagher is if he goes back to Chelsea next season, will he get in the Chelsea team? Will he get the game time that he gets at Palace? The answer to that is no. I can tell you that straight away. He won't be playing every game. So there could be an opportunity next season, or maybe the winter after that, of us getting him. However, with the money Newcastle could be getting him, pumped into him and stuff, I've already heard rumours that he might be going, or they could be looking at him, but he's going to be worth 30 to 40 million, isn't he? Let's be honest. Everyone's talking about him. Other fans are watching him. They're saying, "What a player you've got! What a player you've got!" He's going to be 30 to 40 million. Are we going to pay that? Really? I don't think we will. I'd love us to, Nick, but I don't think we will.
Interesting comment from Michael Herman. Michael, good evening, mate. I hope you're well, buddy. 50 years, our friendship, mate. 50 years. Okay. He said, I came home on the train last night with a couple of Arsenal fans. Very friendly, but hypercritical of their team. They reminded me of Palace fans this time last year. And because of the... Let's cover that off now, Gareth, if you like, the Arteta thing and everything else. How do you think their start of the season? I mean, you mentioned the Palace start of the season. How do you think the Arsenal start of the season, mate?
I mean, initially, obviously poor, a couple of bad results. And then we saw a bit of that kind of upswing with some great results. I think other than the Spurs game, I don't think we really deserved to win a lot of those points, even the games we won. However, that being said, I think last year and the year, maybe even the year prior to that, they're games we would have lost. So some of the scrappy victories that we did get, or the points we got, are games that we would have lost in the past. So yes, it's definitely not the start we'd wanted, but I think we're a bit, with the exception of a bit of yesterday, which I think we didn't play very well defensively. We've played better defensively than I've seen us play in 10 years in a lot of those games. And that's something very different and unique. And obviously it's a different style of defending. So I think from a defensive standpoint, we've played very well. I think we've made the changes that need to be changed at the back. And I think that's going to make a big difference. But they're also young defenders that are still learning that trade. So I think defensively we made a good start overall. It's not good enough to get us probably out of mid-table for the whole season.
I'm glad you mentioned your defence, actually, because I was about to say to you, in my opinion, from the small amount of evidence I've got, that I thought Brighton have actually pulled your pants down. I mean, as a Palace fan, of course, none of us around the table here can stand that lot down to the South Coast. But what did you pay for him? 50 million quid for Ben White?
Yeah. I think we probably overpaid, but I think that's the nature of doing business with other clubs in the top flight, like within England, right? I think you always overpay. We've seen it with players that we've pushed on. Well, not so much of Arsenal, but a lot of clubs that push their players on. And to your point, you were just talking about, I think we typically overpay for that reason because he had experience in the league. I think you pay a bit more. I have seen some faults in his game, and he was backing off way too much last night in his defending, which I actually haven't seen a huge amount of. So I think he's got a lot of room to grow and become better. Will he be worth 50 million? Will he be that 50 million pound player? I think he might be. I don't think he is now.
Just shame that historically Arsenal weren't that good at throwing money around. And I'll just say one sentence to you directly, Gareth. Okay, £2.4 million, Ian Wright. Take both of those, okay? Take them both. Not that I'm besetting, twisted in any way, shape, or form. Okay. So, of course, I'm only joking. I'm only joking. So, there was one. We had a late corner in the first half. Ramsdale saved from an extremely good volley from Gallagher. It was that was going top bins, Greg, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was going in. It was a great save. Yeah, the keeper done really well to get that.
It came from behind. I mean, he from the TV angle, it was from the Gallagher, behind Gallagher. So there was at least one or two defenders in front of the keeper when he made that save, and he went over the top of them. I think it was an exceptional save, good quality. Ramsdale's a good goalkeeper. I mean, I don't know too much about him, Gareth. Ramsdale, good keep, pleased with him.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of kind of press, talk around it in the press, right? Because he has a lot of money, a lot of investment. He'd been relegated with a few clubs, and there was a lot of that kind of. He got a lot of stick for that early on, but yeah, he's come in and he's kept that place. Leno's got his faults, and I don't think he fits with the system, which is why I think we changed. Starting goalkeeper. But yeah, he's been massively impressive, and probably could have done better on the second goal last night, but. That kind of starts with who's in front of him, I think, more than anything. But yeah, I mean, I'm massively impressed and more than happy for him to be keeping his place over Leno.
Cool. Okay, right, boys, I suppose we better cover the elephant in the room, which is more than I can say for the Palace website. I was telling the boys that pre-show, while doing a bit of research this afternoon, I went on the Palace website to have a look back at the video clips that they put on there. And they completely, Paul Bristow's one step ahead of me. Paul, I'm just about to talk about it now, mate. They completely ignored the James MacArthur slap on. There it is, right there on Saka. It culminated in Saka not coming out for the second half. Okay, round the table, gentlemen, I would like to know. Again, I'm going to come. You get first, Gareth, from an Arsenal perspective. Did you see it live during the game? And was the punishment correct, or should he have been red carded?
I did see it live. I think live in the moment, you didn't really get a really clear view of it. I think it's a really hard call. Like I'm no referee, but I mean, is it dangerous? Yes, it is. However, if you watch it in the replay, you see him clearly watching the ball, pulling back to volley it. I don't think he went in. I don't know that maybe there are some professional players that go in with that intent from there, but it didn't look like there was any intent other than that. I guess it's then the ref's call of whether it was dangerous enough. But if you're pulling back to volley the ball, I mean, it's not high feet, it's at shin height. I think it would have been somewhat harsh if it had been a straight red.
Red card all day long, John Knox says. Daniel Garlick said he thought it was a yellow. Ladies and gentlemen out in Facebook land, while you're all sitting there listening to us rabbiting on, listen, it's very unusual for us to have a guest on from the opposition. If you've got any questions for Gareth, okay, he told me pre-show he'd love to take your questions, okay. Oh, no, he didn't. But if you've got any questions for him, please feel free. Keep them polite, keep them respectful, please. He's a guest of the show, okay. I know you could take it anyway, but we're not. We are a family-based show, so keep them nice and polite and respectful. If you've got any questions for Gareth, put them in the chat. I'm reading every single one of your comments as they go through live and as they happen. So I'll read it because I don't know if Gareth can even see them from there. Right, Jason, I'm coming to you. I know that you're going to give me a more sinister view of the Jimmy MacArthur tackle. Go for it, mate.
Well, leading up to the tackle, he'd already made a few risky sort of challenges, and he'd been in a little bit of trouble with the ref. So he was on thin ground anyway. When I first saw it, I'll be honest with you, I just like I said, he looked focused on the ball. When he was looking at it, he was just looking at the ball to hit it. Then when you saw the replays, you do start questioning whether actually there was more malice involved in the tackle. And when I first saw it, I thought, well, that's a yellow card. And then when I looked at it more, I thought he might have been lucky to stay on there. So I'll be honest with you, I'm a little bit in two minds. I think a yellow probably was the right decision. However, you've got to remember, he was in a little bit of, hot ground, he was in a little bit of trouble with the ref anyway. But I've got a funny feeling there was a little bit of malice in that, really. I think he was lucky to stay on, if I'm honest.
Tim, Arsenal fans screaming all over the place on social media, especially post-game, that should have been a red. What's your view, mate?
I thought he was quite lucky. I can see why it was given a yellow card. He was looking at the ball, or he seemed to be looking at the ball. But what Jason said is, excuse me, is absolutely bang on. I think he was quite lucky. But we'll take bits of luck like that because during the season, it's quite often times where we get things like that, not get caught. So I think he was lucky. I don't think he is a malicious player in any way, shape or form. and I really don't think he seriously meant to do any harm to the player. But I think he was lucky to stay on, to be fair.
I agree. And Gareth, I have got a question for you. Going to give you some thinking time. I'm going to ask Greg his thoughts on the Macca thing. Rob Donovan says, why do you think that Laka doesn't start? He always looks quality. While you're thinking about that, Greg on Macca, please.
It's a straight red card. If Doucouré would have done that, Watford Palace, we would have demanded a red card. James McCarthy should have been sent off, is my opinion. But to add to that, the photo you put up on the screen a minute ago, the ref is in shot. So the ref had a very clear view and decided on a yellow card.
Yeah, look at that. Do you know what, Greg? I hadn't seen that. That's a very good observation, mate. I hadn't seen that. He really is. And somebody was saying in the chat just a minute ago that they thought that Mike Dean had a good game yesterday. I can't say either way, really.
I felt he was incredibly lenient and very, very good towards Palace. I felt we were quite lucky and we got the rub of the green. Yeah, definitely. And as Jason said, MacArthur was niggled and he was out there he was looking to upset someone. And I think that moment was born from frustration, and that was possibly him pushing to that line just where it was like, right, I ain't going to go any further past that. And I think that was potentially why he probably didn't get sent off. Is the ref seen it and he thought, right, well, that's a straight yellow, or that's it. And I think MacArthur for the rest of the game was quite surprised he didn't get taken off. But I think potentially may have dialed it back, but it's red all day long.
Richard Thomas in the chat said the ref showed some common sense. Paul Glant says, I love it. Jimmy Mack took him out, a bit like Norman Hunter. Okay, so, okay, Gareth, to Rob Donovan's question. What I've got an opinion. I'll tell you what, I asked you your opinion on the Palace app. I'm going to give you, see how far wrong I am on the Laka and the Aubameyang thing. Now, I think they're two different styles of player. If you want a player playing off the shoulder of the defenders, Aubameyang's your man. If you want somebody with technical ability and somebody who's going to get you a quality goal in and around the box, Lacazette's your man. Your thoughts, mate?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's been going around a lot. I think it is. I agree with you, Nick. I think that's fairly accurate. They play a very different style of game. However, when you look at Arteta's tactics, that's where I think the questions come in, because Laka should be starting. He's the player that he's coming into the game to collect it. He's hold up players exceptional, and he's able to collect the ball. If we're playing out from the back and we're looking for those balls forward, he's the player that comes in, collects it, passes it off to the midfield, and makes his runs back in, to the game from there, which is what I've seen. Aubameyang's never going to do that. He's not that type of player. Like, he's hanging on the shoulder. However, we're just not, in my opinion, right now, we're not clicking enough creatively yet to be able to supply Aubameyang with what he needs. And the reason why I think he's starting is because he is an influence in the club, and he's a club captain. And I think that's why he's starting, to be honest.
Interesting stuff. So, warning signs for Arsenal at this stage. Palace are now picking things up a little bit. Okay, we'll move on to the second half. And Palace came out of the block. Go, Jay. Sorry, mate.
Can I just touch on the end of the first half? In terms of possession, I think we ended up with more possession than them in the first half, which goes to show that we picked it up a lot after the first 15 minutes. But I just want to give a special mention to Mitchell. I thought he was excellent first half. One of our best players. Going forward, he was our most positive player. And like you say, we had a few chances, and it all came from down our left through Mitchell. And what a player we've got at left back now. I think in Mitchell, he's really grown this season.
See, I don't even want to talk about it. Do you know what? Because you're so absolutely bang on. I don't want to do it. I don't want to big him up. Remember what happened with Aaron Wan-Bissaka? Yeah, we were doing the same sort of thing as you, and we realised. I think we all realised. We can all see that. Do you know what? He's a talent. He is a talented player, and it was the only one to have driven into the box. And I think it was him that he drove into the box, and it was Gallagher and Benteke's shots. You're quite right. And
I just think it'd be unfair not to mention him. In terms of the podcast, and people.
Listen, he is Yeah, and he's still developing. He's only young.
Yeah.
He's still developing. And your observation is bang on, mate. And okay, Palace fans out in Facebook land, never ever mention that name ever again because we want him with us for a long, long time.
He's
Otherwise,
having a shocker.
Arsenal will come along and offer another £2.4 million for him. Okay. Okay, let's move on to the second half. So Palace came out the blocks quite strong. I think they definitely got back into the game, and all of a sudden, the big man who was, I've got on my notes, Thomas Partey is caught in possession because of our high press. I love the high press. Jason, you're going to go first. Jordan
I'm basically going to pick him up. What a great interception by Jordan Ayew. I mean, we was, like you say, we was on the front foot. We were closing down Arsenal a lot quicker. It's a great interception by Ayew, a great interception, and it goes to Benteke. And to be fair to Benteke, he's still had a bit of work to do.
Yeah,
he's
absolutely.
still with another player. He's still with another player, and a cracking shot in the corner. Cue carnage in the away end, and complete and utter carnage. All you can see is body and limbs and legs and arms going everywhere.
That was the word.
It's a beautiful sight. Beautiful sight to see. But no, I mean, let's give him a bit of credit. It was well played from Ayew. He did really well there to get it to Benteke. And Benteke, I'm not his biggest supporter by far, but he did really well. Got the ball, went round the defender, great shot. And it's game on, isn't it? We're back in it.
Luke Cooper's just said in the chat, we haven't seen Benteke take a man on before. And you're right, what you just said, Jay. He still had work to do. Greg, your thoughts on the Benteke strike?
I agree with Jason. I mean, he did have a bit to do. I was expecting it to be Jeff Thomas corner flag, when he played for England. I was not. It was a good shot. It didn't look easy on the replay. He had to squeeze it in. It was a great finish. I was really quite taken aback. Because I wasn't expecting it to be on target. I think it was a great goal. I was absolutely thrilled. Yeah, I think he did really well, and I was really pleased. Obviously, I want Benteke to do well. I mean, much like Jason, I'm not a massive fan anymore. I think it's well documented his Palace journey, but that is a great goal, a good end to last season. Yeah, I was obviously thrilled.
Tim.
It was a quality finish. I mean, you all know that I'm not Big Ben's biggest fan. Try saying that when you're drunk. But it was great from Ayew. Great pressing. So good to see. And Benteke had a lot to do. That was, if we'd seen someone like Shearer in his heyday score that, or Messi, it'd be like, oh my God, look, it'll be all over the TV. That was a high quality finish that took a lot of work. And he deserves a lot of credit for it.
Yeah, and good ball in from the left. And anyway, so listen, I'm trying to think of what I was going to ask Gareth something, but I've completely lost my train of thought. Let's move on to the 73rd minute, the second Palace goal. And all I've got on here is, wow, Crystal Palace's pressing. Oh, that's what it was. It was the pressing. That's the one thing that Arteta has bought over Roy Hodgson. And that's what's transforming our performances at the moment, is the pressing. Can anybody else put their finger on anything else apart from the high press that Vieira's doing tactically?
Playing out from the back. There was a lot of that last night, and I can imagine it leaves a lot of us quite nervous. But the quality of the centre halves nowadays, and I made this point maybe a couple of shows ago, completely different. New generations of centre halves never used to do this kind of football out from the back. But you look at Anderson and Gahey and their ball distribution, their ability and their comfort on the ball. That's why we're playing out from the back, because these guys can do it. They bought players that can play it.
Absolutely.
I think a lot of it as well is Vieira, and how we all know that 90% of football is confidence. And Vieira has obviously come in and has instilled a trust in the players, and they can see that he trusts them. And they're wanting to play. You can see the way they're pressing now. They're putting the effort in, even when we're down. I mean, like previous seasons, last night, I think, like Greg said, we could have been 3 down. But we pressed. Look at the other games, the game against Leicester, 2-0 down, and how well they didn't give up. They kept pushing. They come back. And I think a lot of it goes down to Vieira. Maybe it's the way he was as a captain, whether that's why he was such a good player in his day. But he's obviously got the players to buy in to his belief in them, and that is manifesting on the pitch. And I also think, well, the question I've got is, how much difference has it had having supporters back in the grounds? I mean, as I said, even Wendy, watching the games, especially the home games, the hairs are on the back of your neck because of the volume, because of the atmosphere. Surely that must also be injecting into the players and be a part of why they're now giving the performances they are.
Excellent observation, mate. Paul Glance is saying we're Barcelona. Paul, I hope not, because they're £400 million in debt. So I really hope not. Okay. So whilst I take your point, but no, we're not. There's something else in the chat I want to say. Ian Nobles just said, how good is Anderson at picking a 40-yard pass? Again, I can't argue with any of that. You know, we were just talking about young Tyreek Mitchell a minute ago, but you've got to understand that alongside it, there's the aging Joel Ward the other side and the two centre halves. I know we've touched on it. Anyway, let's go on to the 73rd minute. Crystal Palace's pressing has brilliant, and once again, they force a mistake from Arsenal before countering quickly. Conor Gallagher finds Michael Olise, who passes straight to Edouard, and he thumps the ball in on the underside of the bar into the back of the net. And then, Jason, you didn't retweet my tweet this morning. I only retweeted one word, and that was limbs. It just went off in the away end. It just went off. Okay, Arsenal perspective first, please, Gareth.
Yeah, it's disappointing that whether you give the ball away, and that's football, right? You one little mistake, and someone fresh legs on the pitch, and new player, so you make that mistake, and it leads to that. And arguably, maybe Ramsdale could have done a bit better with it, but also I think he's probably had some, like I was saying earlier, defensively we've been pretty tight there. We've been pressing pretty hard and stopping those types of shots coming in a lot recently. And I think that's maybe where he wasn't expecting it. But great finish, a great counter. Like, that speed of attack is exactly what, and I alluded to it earlier, where when we've had good moments, have been very similar. And I think, we're much the same. We're building that philosophy of playing out from the back and that quick counter when you get it. And, Palace just did so well with that. And, a well-deserved goal.
Yeah, I was coming to you anyway, Greg. Your thoughts, please, mate.
Yeah, I just want to point out, I mean, I knew what Palace were getting with Olise, with half of the other side of my family being Reading season ticket holders. So I was excited. But, the statos out there, correct me if I'm wrong, but every game that Olise has played, has he not been involved in a goal in that game?
In fact, somebody just put something like that in the chat. I don't know if I can still see it. Maybe Ian could find it for us in the background. Oh, there you go. I think I just found it. So Lee Lockwood has put in the chat, Edouard, third best Opta striker in the league for goals scored in minutes played. One every 90 minutes. Bobby Firmino, one every 56 minutes. Thank you for that, Lee. Well done, mate. I think that just bails out what you were just saying, Greg.
I think Olise, just from what he's showing at the moment, just in his very brief appearances, to contribute to games in that manner. And I wanted to mention as well the substitutions that Vieira's making and at the intervals that he's making them. I think back in the day, I never really used to pay too much attention to subs, because I always thought they were either used for time wasting or just, it was just to give someone a run out. Under Roy, clearly there was no substitutions, and there was no diversity or plan B as such. But with Vieira and the players that he's got, at his disposal now, there really is like game changing players. I don't really ever recall a time where we've had that luxury. Bringing on Olise, coming on, changing games and scoring goals, bringing on Edouard and bagging too. I mean, these are either inspired decisions or it's just we're spoiled for choice. I'm
telling you now, Greg, it's as though we rehearsed this, because substitutions is the next thing that we were coming on to. And I'm going to come to that as soon as Tim's made his point. Tim.
Yeah, and what occurred to me towards the end of the game is that performance was without Wilf, without Eze. Still don't know what Will Hughes can do. Schlupp, look what he can do for us when he comes on. When was the last time we had anything like this in options, and a manager who is obviously prepared to make the changes and bring these players on? I mean, it's rosy times for me.
I think it's so in the chat there. Paul McNamara has made a valid point. Roy didn't have the options. To be fair, there is truth in that, you know. But he's still the manager who makes the decisions to bring in players, you know, alongside Dougie. So you know, clearly brought in Eze. So there is some influence. But I do agree with you, Paul. Not as good at options off the bench as what Vieira's got. But you know that's probably just a testament to the work done in the summer.
But then you say that, Greg. But then Max Meyer's a prime example. Max Meyer would have given us so many options if he'd been played in the position that he had the ability to play. But Roy would never do. He'd give him like 6 minutes here, 5 minutes there, when the game was already lost, and then people would get on his back. And that's a difference. I think Vieira is the opposite. He gives players a chance. And Gareth, I mean, I don't know what you think, but looking at Arsenal last night, it almost seems like it is a young Roy Hodgson. Because again, you guys went 1-0 up, bossing the game. You didn't press on for a second. It's like, we're 1 up, let's sit back.
Let's cover that now, Tim, because the criticism from post-Brighton game was that we didn't close the game out. Okay, and that's what it was. You know, why didn't the manager make a change and close off the game? Blah 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 blah. Well, last night and all over Twitter, last night it was exactly the same thing. There was no change. It was just the same old cobblers going out on Twitter than there was for the post-Brighton game. Well, he did. Why didn't he learn from the Brighton game? Is what they said last week. Okay, well he did because he brought James Tompkins on. Okay, you've got to say James Tompkins has been one of our best servants for, I don't know, God knows, since we bought him all those years ago. He brought James Tompkins on to shore up the defence. Okay, it didn't work. Okay, they scored in the 95th minute when they shouldn't have even been playing in the 95th minute. Not bitter at all. Okay, but so for all those idiots out in Twitter land, okay, they're saying, why didn't Vieira learn? Why hasn't he learned? We've lost 2 games in the 95th minute. Bullshit. Absolute bullshit. Boys, you've all got your hands up. Tim, you go first.
Yeah, I'm not having that. I mean, that's a load of rubbish as far as I'm concerned. Look at the Brighton game. All right, there's no way Vieira can legislate for a poor goal kick, a 1 in a 100 volley back, and a perfect finish. And last night, or the Arsenal game, it was just not quite there. It was the end of the game. Players were tired. But how can you blame the manager for that? Surely it's the players on the pitch that have to take responsibility.
Greg, I know the best form of defence is attack, but so you should think we're going to be shoving it up the pitch and trying to take it to a corner flag. Criticism then maybe, but that's not the manager. That's the players. Your thoughts, mate?
I think Vieira was damned if he did and damned if he didn't. If he kept it as it was and we'd have let the goal in, we would have all have said, why didn't he bring a defender on? He's brought a defender on and we've let a goal in. So I don't think he had anywhere to go. It's a lapse of concentration. You know, you can't leave Arsenal's fresh substitution, centre forward, player of that quality. You can't give him that space. And that is, I can only put that down to the fact the game, you know, it was all but over. You know, it's being disciplined and you know, playing to that final whistle. And unfortunately, you know, you could put it down to tiredness. You can't pin that on the manager. No, you know, unfortunately, it sits with the players on that one.
Jason?
Well, I'm just thinking about the substitutions. For me, the strikers look tired. You know, Benteke and Edouard, they both look tired. So he had to bring one of them off. The problem is that when he went to Tompkins, he brought Tompkins on because Lacazette was causing us problems. That's the reason why he brought him on. So he had to bring him on because Lacazette was causing us problems. So he brought another defender on. But the problem was we had nothing going forward in terms of the legs. Elise was probably the only one who had a bit of legs, but Benteke was shot. You know, he had nothing in him, nothing left back in the tank. So the thing was, because we brought Tompkins on, it just left us, you know, in terms of just sitting back, didn't it? But
soaking it up.
Back to what the guys are saying is, and rightly so at the end, we've got 5 defenders. Why isn't bloody one of them on Lacazette in that last minute? I know it's the 95th minute, but he's got 10 yards of space. And there's
Yeah,
5 defenders on the pitch.
Mate, we
So
were
like
saying
you say,
exactly
it's
the same.
The defenders have let Vieira down. You know, we can all say, oh, we maybe could have brought on. You know, I personally thought at the time, so we brought Schlupp on. You know, and Schlupp could have run his legs off the last 10 minutes, up and down that left wing, and he could have supported Benteke in terms of going forward. But that was just my opinion at the time. When I thought about it and actually reassessed it, he's brought a defender on because Lacazette was causing problems. So he's made that decision, and it's happened now, isn't it? So we've got to go with it. That's why I've done it. But
Forgive. Sorry.
No, the players, like I've said, have let him down. It's not the manager. The players. There's 5 defenders on the pitch. One of them should have been on Lacazette. One of them should have been assigned to Lacazette to stick with him. And
I think it's a young team. It's inexperienced and it's learning and it's growing.
Yeah.
My take on it is 10 years ago, 15 years ago now, crikey, we'd have got beat 5-0. And we're now at their home ground winning a game in the 94th minute. You know, geez, if that's not progress, I don't know what is. I would have taken 2 all day. It hurts to lose those leads in both of those matches in the manner that we have. Young side improving week on week. This is a Palace side, hopefully, like we've not ever seen before. You know, I've got genuine faith that this side can carry it into the top 10. You know, it's not quite clicking right now, but we're showing we're winning games and letting the lead slip rather than getting beaten. You know, only really Chelsea and Liverpool, who are, you know, they're a stratosphere apart from us, and you know, for obvious reasons. Arsenal going through different, you know, stage of their existence after a long manager's tenure. You know, it's a change, a blip, whatever. They'll come round again, I'm sure. But for Palace, this is uncharted waters.
And mate, what you don't know is Greg's just said that all of that, and what he doesn't know is this morning at 10 o'clock, I'm having a conversation with a friend of the show, Grant Saunders, and we were just saying that, you know, I came out of the ground feeling, just another 2 points dropped. It felt like a loss, but I woke up this morning. I had at 3 o'clock this morning after I didn't get in till midnight. Okay, I woke up and I thought, do you know, I am so proud. I'm so proud for everything that Greg just said. I am so proud because, as you say, 2 years ago we'd have been losing that 3-1, and you know, everybody out in Facebook land, do not be despondent of the fact that we've lost 2 late goals. Gareth, I want to come to you if you don't mind on Vieira. So at the beginning of the game, they gave him a lovely, a warm reception, which you would expect. Vieira, whoa, Vieira, and all that usual garbage, okay? But by the end of the game, okay, or halfway through the game, and especially after he'd scored, it's Vieira's red and blue army, Vieira's red and blue army. How's he doing? He's a quality manager, I think.
Yeah, I think he's come in and, you know, made a massive impact. You know, and someone had put in the comments there about, you know, how he's still learning. And I actually think that, you know, in regards to both the teams and, you know, to Greg's point, you kind of, you know, Palace have kind of come maybe from those years of being lower down in the table and Arsenal coming down the other way. And we seem to be kind of meeting in the middle there with, you know, the transitions. But Vieira and Arteta are, I think, in a similar spot where, you know, Arteta came in, had a big impact. I think previous players with a lot of success have that initial upswing. You know, people are confident, they have good reputations, you know, a lot is expected. And I think that initially boosts the players. I think Vieira's challenge now is, does he keep that going? And this is where I think Arteta's hitting a bit of a wall right now, is he's got to progress quicker than he's got time to. And Vieira, no doubt, will maybe hit that same spot because, you know, you get that initial, you know, most managers get that, right?
New manager bounce, yeah.
Yeah, and I think they're in that same spot, and that'll be the test of it, right? Maybe 12 months from now, when the pressure's on and you've had that initial upswing, and someone to put in there like top 6 question mark, you know, maybe if that's what you're moving towards as a club, is if he doesn't uphold that, much like Arteta, it's kind of been up and down the table. You know, we won the FA Cup and then it dropped off a little bit. Is then that pressure gets really, really heavy. However, he seems to be building that style in the team and that confidence, and we're talking about central defenders and being able to play out of the back and building a whole new way of playing. And it's the same for Arsenal and Palace and, you know, many other clubs, I guess, that are getting newer, fresher managers in. but they just need to now keep that going. And and Arsenal are slipping a little bit, it looks like.
Okay, I've got a follow-up question for you in a minute. Ladies and gentlemen out in Facebook land, isn't it refreshing to have such a balanced view from an opposition fan on the show? Okay, I think absolutely love having you on the show, Gareth. Thank you so much for everything you contribute so far. Ladies and gentlemen, Facebook land, give him some love. Yeah, I want to see some love coming through right now on that. So hit that heart button for Gareth, because I think he's been outstanding this evening. Gareth, question. Can you see a time? Sorry, Palace fans, I'm going to get a lot of hate here. Okay, please don't hate me. I'm just asking them a question because we have look at the love going through on the screen for you now. I don't know if you can see it. That's all for you, mate. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Vieira replaces Arteta in the future. Can you see it happening? Don't hate me, Palace fans. Don't hate me.
I mean, a possibility. I think. If the change is needed, and we alluded to this pre-show, I don't know if Arteta's the one to take them forward, on the long-term basis. Clearly, he's building something, and he's building that change of style and the change of the way the club's run, along with others, on the, higher up. I don't know if he continues. I guess that will be, results will tell that story. And, Vieira would be a great option because of, the history with the club and what a great player he was, and, his connections to the club. And, you can also, you only have to look on social media to see how they're talking about takeovers, and Daniel out from Spotify. And I know he's tightly linked with Vieira and a lot of the previous players. So maybe it's a possibility. However, we will be some upset Palace fans, maybe, if that happens.
Yeah, and the fact that I've just planted the seed, they're going to be upset with me as well. Right, you other three, I'm going to come to you in a second. I'm going to give you a second of thinking time. I want some absolute massive positives about being a Palace fan at this current juncture. Okay, I want absolute positives for you before we end the show. Ladies and gentlemen, coming up for Palace, we've got a game at Sellers Park against Newcastle United. Will Steve Bruce be there? Or who's that bloke down at the Bournemouth? What's his name? The one that we were linked with? Can't remember his name there. The manager down there. The little fella. Fair hair. Can't remember his name. Eddie Howe. Okay. Apparently Eddie Howe has had, I've heard today, that has had negotiations with Newcastle, even though Steve Bruce is in the job. Will it be Eddie Howe on the bench on Saturday? Will it be Blockhead Bruce? Who knows? Okay. I won't be at the game this weekend because I'm actually working. And so, therefore, I will not be hosting the show on Sunday. Ian and Jill are doing it between them on Sunday evening. So make sure you jump on and give them lots of love and lots of likes. Tim, give me a positive. I know you're a positive chap. Okay, give me a positive about your life as a Palace fan at the moment.
New possibilities that we've never had before. Just opportunity, full stop.
Jason.
Exciting times. It's enjoyable to watch. Good atmosphere. What can you say? Good people.
Monsieur Elise.
Yeah, great atmosphere. Trophy expectations.
Wow.
FA Cup.
Wow.
We've come so close. Third bite of the cherry, isn't it? If you ask yourself, it's a serious question. I don't think we'd get laughed at, but do you think we could actually go and win the FA Cup with this team? I really think we can. I think this team could win the FA Cup.
Yeah, well, of course. I mean, Clattenburg won't be refereeing it, so yeah, I think we've got every opportunity, mate.
We've got VAR now, so it's fine.
Exactly. Yeah, that goal would have stood, wouldn't it? I think in my, whatever it is, 45 years of being a Palace fan, there has never been such a positive. I was in and around the team of the 80s, okay? Jim Cannon, obviously, friend of the show. Ian Wright, and so on and so forth. I was around at that time. Jason was around at that time. Tim was around at that time. We were there in amongst it, okay? And we were all thought, yeah, this won't last, okay? Venables, and then this ain't going to last. Eventually, the bubble will burst. And sure enough, guess what? The bubble will burst, okay? We made a big thing about this earlier in the season, the fact that a lot of these youngsters that we got coming in, okay, are being signed on 5-year details, 5-year contracts. People were actually atting me on social media saying, Nick, why do you keep making such a big thing of it? Okay. You watch that come to fruition, because those 5-year deals, they are signed, they're settled at the club. When they get down to 2 and 3 and 2-year deals left on their contracts, then, their value will go sky high. We'll either get a decent money for them, or there will have been accomplished players, and as Greg just quite rightly alluded to, potentially FA Cup winners as well. There has never been a more positive time. I came away from there bursting with pride with what I saw last night. Bursting. This is the mighty, mighty Arsenal. Okay, and we outplayed them in every single department. Gareth, I'm not being too biased here. On the balance last night, who was the better team in your opinion?
I have to agree with you, Nick. I think you were the best team for the larger chunk of the game, and that was kind of what I alluded to earlier. With the first 10 minutes, we were the strongest. We finished strong. As soon as Lacazette came on, we took a bit more control of the game, because I think he supports what we're trying to play. So I think other than the first 10 and the last 10. I think Palace, bossed it in the middle of the game, which was obviously the important part. And as you mentioned, it was kind of unfortunate at the end for you guys anyway, that we had that that last chance, and maybe
we haven't spoken about it yet, have we?
yeah. So no, it was definitely I think definitely overall Palace were that little bit stronger.
So in my notes, what drama? The corner is half clear, but the ball is sent back into the box. Crystal Palace can't clear. Guaita bats away a shot, but Lacazette is there to slam in the rebound. This is the bit when I was talking to you just now, Gareth, about Vieira. Something I saw last night that I actually wasn't expecting, especially at the Emirates, to see him collapse on the floor in disappointment that Arsenal had scored. And to me, that is a man that now gets it as a Palace manager. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's anyone in that. He's clearly in there, and he's always been, having had the pleasure of watching him play live a lot. Many years ago, he just plays with that passion, and he's clearly managing with that, and he's obviously got fully into the club, and absorbed everything it is, and obviously disappointed. I think like anyone would be, other than the Arsenal fans, I think everyone else would see that as a disappointing game for the end of the game. I think on the positive for us, though, it's like I said, those games we may have been losing, a few years ago.
And those Wallies that we were coming out the ground with were celebrating it like Brighton did as a win. They were celebrating it as a win. I heard some of them saying about, we should be putting Crystal Palace to the sword. Well, yeah, as Greg said earlier, 3 years ago, maybe you should.
Yeah.
Tim.
Yeah, just a quick point, just to pick up on what you just said. Surely those two instances show just how much progression we've made as a club in a short space of time. I mean, when was the last time we had any opposition celebrating not losing against us in the way that those two clubs have done?
Yeah, absolutely.
It feels like that saying, it takes 15 years to be an overnight success. That's what I feel like it is for Palace right now. People are like, Palace are really good. I'm really surprised. It's the years and years behind it that we've lived through.
And should we be giving Parish more? A lot of us were hard on the board and Parish, but do you think, looking back now, and Friedman, that maybe we should have given them more time? Have we been too critical?
Certainly on the
Parish and the board.
Yeah.
And it stems from this bloke here. Okay, I've said it 3 or 4 times already this season. Nobody was more critical of Dougie Freeman than me, Judas.
I would like to also say as well, no one really knows. Well, not anyone I know of what influence our American investors have. I think it's very easy for Palace fans to deride their involvement in the club. We've got very little knowledge of what they actually contribute, but they have been involved for a few years now, and being in business with people that have successful sports franchises in America is only going to improve your knowledge of the general output of a sporting team. The culture in America, the way it's driven completely differently. The attitudes, the training, the medical facilities. If that's what being involved with Harrison Blitzer has brought, we've got a new academy. That's weird, isn't it? That's a brand new facility. You know, we've got John Texter on board now, who admittedly I thought was maybe some sort of Twitter plant. It was just a made up character to tweet fans on you know, and say, oh yeah, great game, guys. You know, I wondered if it was a plant, but no disrespect. Obviously, you know, it's good to have him on board, but we don't know their level of involvement, and it's easy. Like I said, I made the point. You know, it's easy for us to throw that back at them, but now we have that academy and we've got the squad. We've got a Premier League winner. Actually, he's a World Cup winner as our manager. What a few years ago we wouldn't have. We had Steve Bruce. I remember Steve Bruce, you know, as manager. Crikey, you know. All right, he's a Premier League winner as well. A lot of people will say that, and quite rightly. He was a fine player, but he didn't win the World Cup, did he? You know. So look, that's my take.
I can't think of a. Go on.
But then Greg makes a really good point. But then you look at Kroenke at Arsenal, you look at the guys up at United, American investors, massive money. What are they doing?
I can't
It takes more than money. It takes more. You need the money, but it takes the right people behind it and the right guidance to actually put that money into where it's needed.
Boys, look at the time. I can't think of a more positive way to end the show. Listen, John Texter, I'm going to send you. You don't know this yet, but you will do when you get the link that I'm going to send you after the show to come and join us on the show. We would dearly love to have an opportunity to talk to you on the Red and Blue Review. Mr. Texter, thank you for your input. Okay. Tim Richards, before you
Nick, sorry if I just jump in. Can you if you're going to approach John, can you just erase the 2 minutes?
And Mr. Texter, just for the benefit of the tape, that was Greg Ellis speaking. Okay. Tim, thank you, mate. Good luck with the move. Get your ass home. We missed you. Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry, can I just hijack one moment? I just want to sow this seed. I don't want to talk about it tonight, but I just want to leave people with this one thought about what I've just said about and what Tim's added to as well. Premier League games in America. I don't want any comments in the chat. I don't want to talk about it. I just want you to go away and think about that. And next week or on Sunday, maybe that's something that can be covered, because I've got an opinion that I think
the 39th game you're talking about, yeah, the 39th possible game.
Whatever you want it to be, but let's just keep our powder dry on that one, and maybe let's tackle that for another day.
Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget we have humongous news coming out of the Red and Blue Red and Blue Review Towers. Okay, keep tuned to Red and Blue Review. You will not believe what we've got that nobody else has ever got. Jason Cadle, fantastic contribution. Thank you, mate.
Cheers, mate. Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Greg Ellis, as always, buddy, you're home now. You belong here. Okay, you're part of us. Thanks, mate.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And most importantly of all, ladies and gentlemen, please show some more love to Gareth. Gareth in Canada. Cheers, mate. You've been outstanding, buddy. Okay, absolutely outstanding.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
And let's come get Greg to sort it out to come on the return one. Ladies and gentlemen out on Facebook land, thank you for all your comments. I've seen each and every one of them. My name is Nick Philpott. We'll see you next week. The guys will be hosting the Newcastle game. On behalf of myself and the entire team, God bless and good night. Good night, everybody.
Cheers.
See ya.
Bye.